Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Hi, John. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to join us today. Thank you, John, especially for taking the time to do this webinar with us. I am Ashley. I am with Agency MVP, and we have our special guest, John LeBlanc. He is a top agent and part of the President's Council at Farmers Insurance. He's been in the industry a long time, 18 years with 18 million in premium. So I think you guys are going to get some great information today from John and make it a great learning experience. Hopefully you can take some things and implement them in your agency. So I will go ahead and just let you take it away, John, if you want to tell them a little bit more about your agency,
Sure.
and we can get started.
So, good afternoon, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well today. Like Ashley said, I've been with Farmers for 18 years. It's been a great ride. And I'm in South Texas. So, I'm south of Houston. I'm along the coast. We deal with the hurricanes. So, unfortunately, Louisiana got hit and we didn't, but that's good for us in Texas if you're an agent in Texas. But it's been fun. So, I've been with MVP almost since the beginning with Todd back in the day. And I've really enjoyed using Agency MVP. It's helped my staff out tremendously. And it seems like in the past, probably, I don't know, probably 6 months, Ashley, we've really added more technology, and MVP has opened up to adding more information to allow us to write more business. And I've seen my book take off in the last 2 years. We've added um, a, a, a ton of new business to our book. So, but a little bit more. I have 15 people in my agency. I have a full personal lines team with a personal lines team manager. I got a commercial team with a commercial manager. I got a retention team with a retention manager. I got a life specialist. I got Lisa in my office who's been with me for 16 years now. She's my operations and so general manager, so to speak, of my agency, and then myself. So but what I want to do is spend about 15, 20, 25 minutes with y'all and talk about technology, right? So I think that's the name of the game today. Hopefully, everybody is keeping up with technology and adding new pieces all the time, especially as volatile as the industry is right now. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to share some screens here and show you a couple things that we're doing here. So, I think, am I still sharing here, Ashley, or not? There it is. All
There we
right,
go.
so I'm gonna go to MVP, of course. Okay, so everybody that's on here probably uses Agency MVP just like I do. And again, I use this every single second of the day, every minute, and I look at this continuously. And I have three pieces to show you. Okay, I'll start off with Agency MVP, then we'll go to performology, and then we'll go into lead swarming. So the first one, of course, is Agency MVP, and I always look at sales activity every day. So what I do, I use this report every single morning. So we have a sales meeting at 8:15 every morning. I have, by the way, I have three agencies, so we're all meeting by Zoom every morning. And I print this every day, and I send it to them based on us at Farmers. If you're a Farmers agent, I do it by folio period, and I print this out every single morning. I put it in an attachment and I send it to my team and review the numbers every day to see where everybody is. Okay. So when we review this, I'm always looking for what their closing percentage is, and this is for the past week. So I'll take Adriana. She's had a pretty good week. Always look at the number of households she's closed in the past week. Did she get at least one household close every day? Is she meeting her average for the week on what the total premium sold is? And then we look at what the marketing sources are. And that's the next piece I'm going to show you here in a couple of minutes. But I really hone in on the premium sold. Are we bundling? And where are we getting our marketing sources from? Okay. So we try to stay on top of this every single day. We look at it all the time, and then we act on it by going to the next one here. So what I'm going to show you is, let me share this tab instead. Good, it's working. All right, so if you haven't heard of performology, this is another piece of technology that we use in our agency. And we've gone live in the last few days, and I've been working on this for a few months. And I have a number of my good friends and counterparts that use performology. And this is all tied into Agency MVP. So Agency MVP has created a report just for this company here. And they go in and extract it as a live feed all day long. Okay. So what I'm getting ready to show you is very important on why you input information into MVP correctly. So down here, what I'm looking at is all the leads that we have quoted in the last 90 days. All right. And then we can see the number of items we've sold in the last 90 days and our closing percentage. And then you can look at all the leads that have not been sold. All right. Then we go down here. Okay. So say, for example, Ashley is in my office and she has an incentive to, say, sell 50 autos in a month. And today is the last day of the pay period and she needs 4 more autos. Okay. Well, what we can do is you can click this button here and we can go through all these items right here. So the average percentage, this number right here, tells me that can't even say Malhotra is the name, and he is showing to be 39%, almost 40% lower than all the clients entered into my agency MVP with all the data related to this person. So all in that area, in that territory, the type of home, what product we're using, whatever it may be, AI goes in the background and does this. So I used my son, for example. Colin works in my office. He's my son. And I said, Colin, I want you to take a look at this list and tell me what jumps out at you on these, what clients jump out at you. And say he had Keith Harris and Valencio Melcher. Okay. And both of these have negatives next to them, meaning we have a greater chance of calling to close them. So he said, Dad, I'm getting ready to close these. And I said, great, because look at the percentages, they're negative. So then I go, well, what about this one here? I said, why didn't you get this one? And he goes, well, the home's good, but the auto was 2.5, 3 times higher. So when I pulled up the auto, it was showing 300% higher, meaning it's just not good for us. So the next thing I looked at is like, okay, when's the latest activity? What prior company was it? Who was the last user? So whenever you go like this button right here, I have a lot of work to do. So me and Ashley were talking before the meeting. If I had all the prior companies listed correctly, I could go into MVP, run by user, run by USAA, update the information, let MVP do the back-end system, and then transfer everything over to performology. So this is going to be a game changer for my agency. So if I want to look at the last 90 days, pick a user, look at Colin. He has 414 leads generated. He's closed 51%, 12%. That's about the average closing percentage of my agency. And then I can go down here and look at all the leads he needs to work on. So he has a book of business built in. But if you're not updating properly, because when I showed my son this earlier today, he goes, oh, Dad, I know what you mean now. I got to get this taken care of. I was like, yes, you do. And we're going to talk about it. And we already have a fourth quarter meeting planned tomorrow. So that's going to help out tremendously when we discuss this tomorrow. So the next thing we do, and this is important, we go to Lead Clinic. I'm going to share this tab. Okay. So this company is called Lead Swami. Don't know if y'all know anybody at Lead Swami. His name is Jay Reaver. He's a game changer. And I found him, if anybody knows, Jeremy Olson with Allstate in Washington State, one of the largest agents in the industry. And he told me about this guy. So whoever is buying internet leads and you're putting them into MVP, and MVP, we're able to export those reports, it spits out all this information and all your total spend per lead source. So for example, for those that know Peter Vitale at Lead Clinic, I'm a big buyer of his now. You know, it's very hard right now, if you can imagine. The quality of leads are not where they need to be right now because of all the changes happening with TCPA by the end of the year. So what's good about Lead Clinic, they provide us all the back-end information here. So all these campaign names, all right? This is all a bot form on the back end that whenever we receive a lead, Lead Clinic is going to all the aggregators and getting them to buy purchase leads, which in turn comes to us. So all these campaign names are lead companies that are provide leads to us, and then I can see where we have quotes, our quote percentage on after we get in contact with them, the number of sales, our quote close percentage, our lead price, our total spend, and our cost per sale. Okay. Here's the big thing with MVP. All right. It's going to have the quote percentage here, and that's going to take in whenever you're quoting or you're putting in the right disposition for the calling. So whenever you get your sales reports every day, you need to make sure, because you should be getting those every night from Agency MVP. I'm sure Ashley's up at midnight printing all those and sending them to us, right, Ashley?
Sending them away one at a time.
You have to match up those reports and make sure it's matched up properly with your phone system you use. So for us, it's GoToConnect, which I'm going to talk about in a second. Okay. It's very important because you can look at your talk time report. Okay. And let it load real quick. And this will tell me the percentage of sales we have based on all calls under 15 minutes, and calls above 15 minutes. Okay. So the next piece of my business, I'm gonna work on getting these calls above 15 minutes. It's gonna be a lot of coaching. It's gonna be a lot of training. It can break down where you are versus an average call duration and our close percentage, and he can tell you how you compare against the other agents that use Lead Swami. Okay. So these are numerous reports that we can grab out of here, and we can talk about, or the vendor spend reports, and you can pull up any vendor. I might have gone too fast. Hang on one second. Yep, I went too fast. So any lead source that you buy from, I can look at all the different leads, how much money we spent, the cost per quote. So for example, Data Lot, pull this up here. Data Lot was costing me too much. Okay. Even though we had a decent close percentage, it was costing me too much. So I went to Jay, and me and Jay were talking. He goes, John, you got to cut them off. It's like, well, what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to show you how to use these other lead sources. So the cost per sale, I said, all right, I'll cut it and I'll figure out something else. So whether it was Quoting Edge or MVP premium home leads or whatever other lead source. And again, if you know Bo, and I went to Bo, I said, all right, Bo, I need to increase MVP leads. I said, all right, we'll get rid of Data Lot. We'll do this. Well, I've knocked out probably $11,000 in leads in the last 60 days. And my closing percentages have increased. And then also my farmers rankings have increased, and I've saved money. But what I've done is I've gone in and done all this. So it all goes back to MVP. You have to make sure you're putting the most current information. Because I remember when Todd started this company, he would scream at me and go, John, you need to make sure you put in the most current information, because let the algorithm do the work. And now with other technology right now, it will help. So the other thing is like we have my phone systems go to connect, and been talking to Bo, and I don't know if everybody knows, but Agency MVP has open API integration, and if your phone company has open API integration, we can get the auto dialer going. So I'm looking forward to that in the next 60 days to get the phone system going on that. So in a nutshell, I know it was quick, but this is what we do on a daily basis. If you are big into reports and AI and buying leads and monitoring all that, you need to make sure that you have some type of technology in place. Okay, because MVP is your lead manager, and you need to have something on the back end to help you take all the information you put in Agency MVP to merge it and make it work so you can get better quality leads. You can have a better book of business, and that's the whole key, right? So in Agency MVP, every user has its book of business. So, like for example, I can go to, I keep on sharing this tab. I can go to Colin. Let me see here. Where's my son? There he is. And what people need to understand with MVP, and this is the way I treat it, I mentor a lot of agents, and whatever um, system you use, if you are managing this properly, it's another book of business you can sell, right? So you have your farmer's book of business, you got your surplus book of business, and you got your lead management system. This is something that you can pivot and sell if you need to. So just another way of making sure you are up to speed, your MVP is up to date, you're managing your calls properly, anything you can do to help yourself look better down the road. Because again, what you're trying to do is like for my 15 employees, and this is one of the things we're talking about tomorrow, is like, hey, we need to talk about 2025. Is your MVP up to speed? Are you calling your right leads every day? And then I'm gonna share performology and lead swarming with them to where at the point their tongues are gonna get so thick they won't be able to talk to me because they're gonna like, uh-oh, he found some new stuff. So that's what scares them. That's what scares them about the meeting tomorrow. It's like, uh-oh, LeBlanc's coming in with some more stuff. So, but that's what we do.
So you start everything in MVP, you make sure that your producers and your staff members, they're putting all the data into MVP. And then from there, you're taking it and putting it into your other platforms to just help you hone in on, what leads you should be buying, who you should be buying them for, call activity as far as, talk time. And it's like a mix of these three things that help make your agency.
It is, and what, I'm sure down the road, Ashley, and who knows, in a couple of years, all this will be merged together. There'll be something else. For the time being, you got to find something that makes it work. But it all goes back to your lead system. Doesn't matter if it's Agency MVP or Agency Zoom, whatever it may be, but you have to have this current and you have to have it up to speed. But the other technology is going to help us get that. So for those that don't export reports or don't have or use the reports, it's so easy to do. You can export the reports, send it to Lead Swami, send it to Performology, or Performology now, they just go in and it's automatically extracted live feed. So I can look at it any time of the day and it's current. So that's been a big project between Ashley and Bo and Steve over at MVP with Performology. And now it's working, it's in sync, and now it's just another resource for MVP to promote. So
yeah, and Mason, so we had a question from Mason. When will Performology be made available for everyone? Very soon, as John said, we've been testing it with him and we got things running. So we should have that available for everyone.
Probably in the next week or two. We got one more thing to do. And then me and Ashley talked about that this morning. Once we get that going, it should be an easy fix with Steven over at MVP, and it'll be live. So it's gonna be really good.
And for those of you, I'm not sure if there's anyone on here who doesn't know what Agency MVP is, but Agency MVP is a smart lead management system. It helps rank, prioritize your households in order of who's most valuable, who's most likely to close. So you can see here, and I'll share my screen very quickly. So this is what MVP looks like. These are all the leads, prospects. We have different call view pages. We also have workflows, which are a series of text and emails that can be sent out. So you can integrate with texting. Currently, we have an integration with Twilio, Text Request, and Ring Central. As John said, we are working on adding some more integrations as well. But that's what MVP is. And I did put a QR code up at the top. I'll put it up here again. If you want to schedule a free demo with us, feel free to just scan that QR code.
And I was going to add something. So she's on that prospect page right now. So I had an employee who was one of my proteges, and he got promoted, and he opened up his own agency. And his leads were managed so properly in MVP, the workflows, the updated information, to where whenever I brought a new employee, and again, it was my book of business, and I was able to roll over the book of business to that new employee, he was closing business like that. So it's very important everybody understands on this webinar that if you are not monitoring your leads on a daily basis and making sure it's updated properly, you're doing yourself a disservice, because when it's time to add a new employee and you move leads to that person, to that new employee, they're gonna struggle. So it's very important that the workflows are set up properly. The most up-to-date information's in there. The tickets are logged, everything, to where, again, if you're using all three pieces of technology, you're just going to make that much more money.
And as far as, we have another question about getting your agency MVP data into Lead Swami. We are sending your data to Performology, and Performology is sending that to your Lead Swami account.
Two things. So Jay over at Lead Swami is going in. He's a administrative user on under my MVP. He goes in and runs the reports and exports it, and then he can cut and paste the information from Performology and match up to make sure we have all the right sales in there. And then I'll have it really current with Lead Swami, to where I can start calling all my lead vendors, and then I can pit each one against each other. So if I want to go Quoting Edge versus Quote Nerds, I can use that information to say, hey, why is Quoting Edge closing 10% and Quote Nerds is only closing 5%? And I've been doing it in the past couple of months, and it's like, oh, you have that information. Is that, yeah, I do now. So it's like all of a sudden the filter's getting better. I get better intent leads, and now it's starting to really crank up again.
Yeah, and just like adjusting, like you're saying, sometimes you do have to let go of a lead vendor if you see that you have a way higher closing percentage with one as opposed to the other. Let's up your leads with the one that you're closing more with. And so, that's why you just have to constantly be keeping track of that information, like you do.
And I'm gonna give a compliment to Ashley, and I wish Steve and Bo were on here right now, but they have done so much work in the last 60 days to get all these reports up to speed and making changes, and making the open API integration, everything, and all that stuff. So it's these folks, gang, are here to help us and make us better, and it's been a win-win the last 60 days. So we're really starting to see an uptick in business.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I don't see any more questions in the comments, but thank you so much again, John. We appreciate you, and we hope everyone has a great rest of their week.
Yeah. If you want to put my information in the chat, please do, and I'm open. I mentor 2 groups of agents here in the Texas area, and I'm always more than happy to take a phone call or email, and I'll be more than happy to share some information with everybody.
I'll go ahead and put John's email in the chat there. Hopefully everyone on LinkedIn and YouTube can see that, but it is jleblanc1@farmersagent.com.
Hello, Jody. I see you on there. I'll call you, Jody. I'll call you.
All right. Well, thanks again, everyone, for joining. And thanks again, John.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Have a good one. Bye.
Uh-huh.